The Enzo Fernandez drama at Chelsea is getting out of hand, and here is everything you need to know. Let me ask you something simple. If you spent over £100 million to sign a player, gave him a contract until 2032, made him one of the highest paid players at your club, and then that player went on camera and told the world he wants to leave for another club because the city reminds him of where he grew up, how would you feel? That is exactly what happened at Chelsea this week. And honestly, it has opened up a conversation that goes way beyond just one player. This whole Enzo Fernandez situation is a mirror being held up to everything that has been going wrong at Chelsea this season. And if you are a Chelsea fan or someone who follows the club closely, you need to understand all the details because this story is only going to get bigger as the summer transfer window approaches. So let us break it all down properly, from how we got here, what Enzo actually said, how the club responded, what it means for his future, and what it tells us about the bigger picture at Stamford Bridge right now. How did we get to this point? To understand why this whole situation feels so explosive, you need to go back a few weeks and look at the bigger picture at Chelsea. The club has been going through what many people are calling a rough patch. After that first leg against PSG, things started to fall apart. Chelsea lost momentum, results got worse, and the mood around the team dropped. We are talking about a club that has spent an enormous amount of money building this squad, and yet the performances have not matched the investment. When results go badly in football, players get frustrated. That is normal. But what separates a professional from someone who crosses a line is how you handle that frustration. Do you keep it private, work harder, speak to your manager, or do you go public with your feelings in a way that creates headlines and puts your club in an awkward position? Enzo chose the second path, and Chelsea were not happy about it at all. What did Enzo actually say? During the recent international break, Enzo Fernandez gave an interview where he opened up about his personal feelings regarding Real Madrid. He said that Madrid reminds him of Buenos Aires, his home city in Argentina, and that he would love to play there one day. Now, on the surface, you might think that sounds harmless. A player from Argentina saying a Spanish city feels familiar to him. What is the big deal, right? But here is why it matters. Enzo did not just say he liked the city of Madrid. He openly and publicly admitted that he wants to play for Real Madrid in the future. He is currently under contract at Chelsea until 2032. He was signed for over £100 million. And he is using a public interview to flirt with a move to one of Chelsea's biggest rivals in European football. That is not just a casual comment. That is a player signaling to the outside world that he wants out. And clubs, especially clubs that paid that kind of money for a player, take that very seriously. Do you think Enzo was wrong to say what he said publicly, or do you think players should be free to speak their minds? That is a question worth thinking about as you read through everything that followed. How Chelsea responded. Chelsea did not take this lying down. The club moved quickly and decisively, and head coach Liam Rosenior made the decision official when he spoke to reporters ahead of Chelsea's FA Cup match against Port Vale. Rosenior confirmed that Enzo had been sanctioned. He would not be available for the FA Cup game against Port Vale on Saturday, and he would also miss the Premier League clash against Manchester City the following Sunday. 2 games, gone, sitting in the stands. Rosenior was very clear about the reason. He said a line had been crossed in terms of the culture they are trying to build at the club. He acknowledged that Enzo is a good person and a quality footballer. He said his frustration comes from a place of wanting the club to succeed, but he was firm that what Enzo said publicly was not acceptable. Rosenior also stressed something important. He said the decision was not just his. He described it as an aligned decision involving himself, the sporting directors, and the ownership. Everyone at Chelsea was on the same page. This was not one person overreacting. This was the whole club saying, "We will not allow this kind of thing to go unchallenged." He also left a door open for Enzo to return. He made it clear that the sanction does not mean the end of Enzo at Chelsea. It is a disciplinary measure, not a permanent ban or a sign that he will definitely be sold, at least not yet. But the message was loud and clear. Cross the line, and there are consequences. No player is bigger than the club, not even someone you paid £100 million for. The Guardian report and what it says about Chelsea's feelings. Beyond the official statement from Rosenior, there have been reports giving us a deeper look at how Chelsea feel internally about all of this. The Guardian reported that Chelsea are increasingly willing to sell Enzo Fernandez. People inside the club reportedly feel that it would not be a disaster if he left. The thinking, according to the report, is that it is hard to see how Chelsea benefit from keeping someone who is no longer aligned with the club's vision. That is a pretty damning assessment. Think about what that means. This is a player they spent a club record fee on. He was supposed to be a cornerstone of their midfield for the next decade, and now people inside the building are saying it might actually be better if he goes. That tells you how serious the damage has been from these comments. It is not just about football anymore. It is about trust, about culture, about whether a player believes in the project you are building. Of course, there is a financial reality here too. Chelsea would need a massive fee to even consider selling. The report suggests the club would demand a big number, and Spanish sources are saying Real Madrid are not about to pay anything close to £100 million for him. So even if Chelsea wanted to sell tomorrow, the business side of things makes it complicated. And there is another angle to all of this. Enzo is under contract until 2032. That means Chelsea hold all the cards legally. He cannot just walk out. If he wants to leave before his contract is up, someone needs to pay what Chelsea decide is fair value. And right now, that figure is going to be very high. There has also been a suggestion that Enzo might actually be open to signing a new contract at improved terms, which, if you think about it, is the most Chelsea plot twist possible. The player who said he wants to go to Real Madrid might end up signing a new deal at Chelsea. Football is genuinely wild sometimes. The PSG factor. Real Madrid are not the only club who have been mentioned in connection with Enzo. Paris Saint-Germain have also been linked with a move for the Argentine midfielder. PSG, of course, are another massive club. They have the financial power to match Chelsea's asking price more realistically than Real Madrid might, and they are always looking for top-quality midfielders. If PSG came in with a serious offer this summer, it would put Chelsea in a genuinely difficult position. Do you keep a player who has publicly said he wants to leave, or do you take the money and use it to reinvest in players who actually want to be at the club? That question does not have an easy answer, and it is one that the Chelsea board will need to think carefully about between now and the end of the season. The bigger picture at Chelsea. Here is where this story gets really interesting for anyone who follows Chelsea closely, because the Enzo situation did not happen in isolation. It is part of a larger moment of turbulence at the club. Rosenior himself acknowledged this when speaking to reporters. He said a lot of what has happened recently stems from a difficult 10 days that started with the collapse against PSG. He mentioned that Enzo's comments and also an interview given by Cuckoo, another player, both came from that same emotional place of wanting the club to do better. In a strange way, Rosenior almost sympathized with where the comments were coming from, even while making it clear they could not go unpunished. But there is an even bigger issue sitting underneath all of this, and it is about Chelsea's recruitment strategy. Over the past couple of years, Chelsea have made a very deliberate choice to sign young players. Lots of young players. Players with potential, players on long contracts, players who fit a certain profile of being raw and unproven at the highest level. The idea was to build something for the future. The problem is that this approach has been heavily criticized recently. Chelsea have been struggling for results, and the argument being made by many supporters and pundits is that the squad lacks experience. It lacks players who have been in big moments before, who know how to handle pressure, who can steady the ship when things go wrong. A squad full of talented 20 and 21-year-olds is exciting in theory, but when you are losing games you should be winning, people start asking whether you have enough senior leadership on the pitch, and that criticism has been growing louder at Chelsea over recent weeks. What does this have to do with Enzo? Everything. Because one of the reasons morale may have dropped, one of the reasons frustration is bubbling over, is that the team as a whole has not been performing well. Players get unhappy when results are bad, and when you have not got enough experienced heads in the dressing room to keep things calm and focused, small problems can quickly become big ones. Chelsea ready to change their transfer approach. Here is the part of this story that Chelsea supporters have been wanting to hear for a while now. According to reports, Chelsea are genuinely considering a shift in their recruitment strategy this summer. The heavy focus on young, unproven talent was described as the first phase of a project. Now it sounds like the second phase might involve bringing in more established names. The Guardian report specifically noted that there are suggestions of a shift in thinking. Sources are insisting that there was never a hard rule that Chelsea could only sign young and raw talent. The example given was João Pedro, who joined from Brighton last summer as an already proven Premier League player. And it was mentioned that Chelsea even considered signing a top international defender in January, though that move did not happen. The most important thing that comes out of all this is the message it sends to the rest of the squad. Chelsea are apparently telling their key players that the project is serious and that they are committed to building something strong. That is why Reece James was reportedly willing to sign a new contract. Sources say he received assurances before he put pen to paper, assurances that impressed him enough to commit his future to the club. If Chelsea can show the same commitment to other players like Cole Palmer, who is said to be settled and happy at the club, then they have a chance to stabilize things quickly. But they need results to improve, and they need the transfer window to go well this summer. Everything is connected. Do you think Chelsea should go after more experienced players this summer? Or do you think the young squad just needs more time to develop together? That is the great debate among Chelsea fans right now. What does this mean for Enzo going forward? Let us bring this back to Enzo specifically and think about what the realistic outcomes are here. Option 1 is that Enzo sits out his 2-game ban, comes back, apologizes to the squad, puts his head down, and tries to show Chelsea that he is fully committed. If results improve and the team starts winning, this whole drama fades into the background by the end of the season. It would not be forgotten, but it would not necessarily mean the end of his time at the club. Option 2 is that the relationship between Enzo and Chelsea becomes too damaged to repair. He makes it clear he wants to leave. Chelsea decide they are willing to sell at the right price, and he ends up at Real Madrid or PSG in the summer. Chelsea reinvest the money in players who actually want to be there, and everyone moves on. Option 3, the wild card, is that Enzo ends up signing a new contract at improved terms. Stranger things have happened in football. If Chelsea can convince him that the project is going somewhere, that the team is going to be competitive, and that he is valued and central to the plans, maybe he decides his future is at Stamford Bridge after all. Right now, nobody outside the club knows which of these outcomes is most likely, but the next few months are going to be absolutely crucial in deciding which direction this goes. The culture question. One thing that has come out of this situation very clearly is that Chelsea under Liam Rosenior have a very specific set of values they are trying to protect. Rosenior used the word culture multiple times in his press conference. He talked about what they want to build. He said a line was crossed. This matters because it shows that the club is trying to create an environment where the collective comes before the individual, where no player, regardless of how much they cost or how talented they are, gets to undermine the group by going public with their personal desires in a way that creates unnecessary drama. That is actually a healthy thing to see from a football club. Too many clubs let star players do whatever they want because they are scared of losing them or causing more conflict. Chelsea chose to take a stand. Whether you agree with the specific sanction or not, the principle behind it is sound. But here is the uncomfortable question that follows from all of this. If you are Chelsea and you are trying to build a culture of commitment and shared goals, what does it say about your recruitment if you keep ending up in situations like this? This is not the first time a Chelsea player has been unhappy or publicly linked with a move away. The structure of how players are signed, paid, and managed clearly needs some attention. That is the deeper work that needs to happen beyond just dealing with Enzo specifically. It is about creating an environment where players genuinely want to stay and fight for the badge, not just a place where they collect a big wage while waiting for something better to come along. Where does Chelsea go from here? So what is the realistic picture for Chelsea as we head towards the end of this season and into the summer? The immediate priority is results. Nothing fixes a dressing room like winning football matches. If Chelsea can get back to winning ways, picking up points in the league, going deep in the cups, the mood lifts, and all of this drama starts to feel less important. In the summer, they need a transfer window that makes sense. Not just big names for the sake of it, but the right players. Experienced, proven winners who complement the young talent already at the club. If Chelsea can blend those two things together properly, they will have the foundation of something genuinely competitive, and they need to make a decision on Enzo. Keep him and rebuild the trust, or sell him and use the money wisely. Either can work. What cannot work is letting this drag on for another year with no resolution, poisoning the atmosphere and leaving everyone in limbo. Chelsea have all the resources they need to fix this. They have the ownership, the stadium in development, the young talent in the squad, and a head coach who seems to understand what kind of culture he wants to build. But resources only matter if they are used wisely. And right now, the pressure is on the people in charge to make the right calls. Final thoughts. The Enzo Fernandez situation is one of those stories that feels like a big deal on the surface, but actually points to something much deeper. It is not just about one player making some comments in an interview. It is about whether Chelsea are building a club with a real identity and a real vision, or whether they are just assembling expensive parts that do not quite fit together. The fact that the club responded so firmly, that Rosenior and the ownership and the sporting directors were all aligned in their decision, is actually a positive sign. It shows there is a backbone there. It shows that the culture they are trying to build has teeth. But the work is far from done. Chelsea need to prove that this was not just a reaction to one bad week, but part of a genuine transformation in how they operate as a football club. The summer window is coming, big decisions are on the way, and the whole world is watching to see what Chelsea do next. What do you think is the right call for Chelsea when it comes to Enzo? Should they sell him this summer and move on, or should they try to rebuild the relationship and keep him? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is exactly the kind of debate that the John Chelsea analysis community was built for. And as always, stay informed, stay passionate, and never stop believing in what Chelsea can become. The best chapters of this story are still ahead. We just have to get through the difficult ones first.